Welcome to In the Box, our Penguins show here on DK Sports Radio. I'm Dejan Kovacevic, joined here by Chris Bradford in our Highmark Stadium studios. And hi, Chris.
Hello, Dejan. How are you?
It couldn't be better, Chris. Let's talk a little bit of hockey, which is like the only thing we ever do, right?
That's what we do in this business.
Mike Sullivan has 0.00% chance of becoming the Jack Adams Award winner as the NHL's Coach of the Year this year, because we all know who's getting that.
I think we do. It's Gerard Gallant out in Las Vegas.
It is, yeah.
There's a couple good candidates, but I think Gerard Gallant has to be.
Oh, my goodness. Between that and Executive of the Year going to George McPhee for building the Vegas Golden Knights, it's just a slam dunk after slam dunk. However, we're going to talk about the impact that Sullivan has had on this team and why he might get through this entire stretch, 2 championships and whatever else happens this year, without ever having a prayer at the Jack Adams, since they insanely make it a regular season award.
Nah, but that's usually what happens when you have a really good team. It's usually, the coach kind of gets neglected in those kind of conversations in terms of Coach of the Year. They look for the kind of the underdog team, with the coach going with it.
The big comeback, yeah. There's they go through, and it's voted on by the broadcasters, by the way, NHL broadcasters, the Jack Adams Award is, and they basically, the history has been, they look for dramatic turnarounds. And, of course, Vegas goes from 0 to whatever it is.
Yeah, literally nothing.
They'll end up with, which is going to win those awards to them. So, Sullivan, what has he done that has impressed you the most this year, just this season, never mind coming off 2 championships?
I would have to say it's what he didn't do. It's because when that team was really struggling in the fall and November and December in particular, there was a chance where he really could have gone off on this team, where you thought maybe he could bag skate that team. But obviously that would have been counterproductive to the situation they were in with so many games and back-to-back. He kind of just stayed the same, and I'm not sure Mike Sullivan in his younger days, and I'm talking back with the Boston Bruins in the early 2000s, he's a pretty fiery guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to wonder if a younger Mike Sullivan would have gone off, but I think the experience of the last 2 years and the group that he has, he's kind of kept them, just focused on the next play, like he likes to say.
Well, I'll agree with you on one aspect specifically, and that is that for me, it's something that Sullivan didn't do as well. Only it's strategic. He didn't change. Think about it. He didn't change at all.
No, he didn't. I mean, the style that he employed, 2.5 years ago now.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It's, the speed game, the transition game. I don't know how he came about to that philosophy, whether that's something he came about as a player, because, he's a kind of a third-line guy in his playing career, fourth-line guy.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Had a little bit of success with the Bruins, and he's out of the NHL, after 2 seasons.
No, and even working under John Tortorella, you're not going to get any notion of, let's put it this way. Tortorella is a long way removed from his old safe as death days. Remember that in Tampa Bay when they won the Cup, and they did it with speed and skill and taking risks. Well, in this case, Sullivan, I think, came in to Pittsburgh, looked at what he had, and said, okay, this team plays slow. That was his biggest issue. Remember that under Mike Johnston? And he obviously was never critical in any form of Johnston. But he saw that they played slow despite having these highly skilled and in some cases fast players. But then he went to Jim Rutherford and told him, or asked him, I should say, I need more. I need more speed. I don't make him sound like a junkie here.
No, but Carl Hagelin, I think, was one of his first gets. Yeah. So they bring in a guy like Carl Hagelin, and that's, obviously one of the fastest, if not the fastest skater in the league. And I think they've just kind of built around that identity of just speed in the transition game.
And the part that's impressed me the most out of that is that he never went away from that. And I have to admit, having thoughts, not that long after Nashville, that maybe in a third year that the Penguins would have to do or at least add something different schematically. Like maybe they could become a little bit less aggressive, a little bit more patient. And that's a difficult line, especially when you're dealing with a skilled team. But I thought that maybe they could say, all right, look, we can at least add a 1-2-2 or something like that to our game for when we have a lead, and that over the course of 82 regular season games that it would benefit. He's done nothing of the kind.
No, not yet. And I don't think you can say he's not going to at some point, because at some point this team's going to get a little bit older. But the core players are still just, 30, 31 years old, so it's not like, they're ancient by any means. They can still play the game that they've been playing.
Yeah, and to clarify, I mean, they do occasionally drop into these traps. They're terrible. They have no idea how to run these things, and it's because they almost never practice them. But he will tell his guys occasionally to go into a 1-2-2 with a lead, especially like with a 2-goal lead, which those, they scare every hockey coach. But the Penguins will then kind of just drift back into the neutral zone, take the shape, and then do nothing with it. You know what I mean?
No, that's kind of the team the Penguins have, and I can't see that ever really taking root again, not anytime soon. I mean, the identity of this team is built around, guys like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, obviously high-end skill guys. And, to Sullivan's credit, again, with the speed thing is, really kind of challenging those guys and really getting the best out of those superstar
That's
players.
what it is. He put the pedal to the metal. I mean, after that first month when they were legitimately tired, the 16 games in 31 days, Western Canada, everything else that went into that, he could have legitimately instilled in himself some doubt about it. Because, look, the last thing you want to do is to push these guys and keep pushing these guys. But that's all he did. He just kept saying, there's one way for us to play. And he kept pushing the same message, and eventually it worked, and then January happened.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the superstar guys, you kind of had to know that they couldn't go on forever. I mean, Evgeny Malkin's not going to, have a 15-goal or 20-goal season. Crosby, obviously he's not had maybe the season that he's used to having, but he's still having, by anybody else's standards, a pretty good season. And,
right, but he took the same approach with them.
Yeah, and, I think the other thing in this conversation, has been just, and this is kind of maybe a league-wide thing, is, kind of the losing practices here and there. They haven't had a lot of practice time. They've dropped some of the morning skates. They're all optionals now. He seems to have a real feel for his team and, kind of what it needs.
There's no question about that. He might have as good a feel for his group and their various intricacies as any coach that I've ever been around, and we're going to talk about that right after this message.
It's time to cash in on non-stop sports action with MyBookie.ag. They have in-game live betting on nearly every sporting event, plus MyBookie.ag will match your deposit with a bonus up to 100%. With decades of expertise and no-hassle payouts, you'll experience the greatest customer service in the business, guaranteed. Use promo code DKRadio to activate your bonus of up to 100%. Call 844-900-BETS or visit MyBookie.ag to open an account. Sign up today.
Miller Lite is the original light beer, and we'll always brew it to have more taste, with only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs. Because we believe that if you compromise on taste, you can taste the compromise. Miller Lite. Hold true.
Great beer, great responsibility. 2018 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Average analysis, 12 fluid ounces. Less than 1 gram protein, 0 grams fat.
What I want from my public accounting firm is big ideas.
But I don't want to lose the personal attention.
My company needs global capabilities.
From a firm with local ownership.
And I want to work with industry experts.
Who take the time to understand my unique challenges. And that's what sets Schneider Downs apart. Expertise for the most complex business issues. With the service you need every day. To learn how our big thinking with a personal focus can help your company, visit SchneiderDowns.com.
If you're one of the thousands of Western Pennsylvanians who love to get outdoors, then you need to check out this amazing new website, stepoutside.org. Hi, I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Sports Radio. I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. I know about the outdoor life that's available to all of us in Western Pennsylvania. Learn where, when, and how you can go camping, hiking, hunting, take part in power sports, shooting sports, water sports, in your local community, across our region, across the country at stepoutside.org.
In Pittsburgh, we bleed black and gold and love our city. Born in Pittsburgh and now celebrating 130 years in business, Henny Jewelers is proud to be your premier jewelry store. Whether it's choosing that watch you've always wanted or you're searching for the ring that was made for her, trust Henny Jewelers. Visit our store on Walnut Street in Shadyside to see our extensive inventory of designer engagement rings, watches, and one-of-a-kind jewelry. For more, go to hennyjewelers.com and follow on social.
Embarrassed by that stained carpet in your office? Tired of looking at your dull, dirty floor? My Floor Needs is here to fix that. With years of experience and 24/7 service, My Floor Needs offers stripping and waxing, carpet, tile, grout, and concrete cleaning, as well as polishing and buffing services. Call 888-67-MY-FLOOR or email info@myfloorneeds.com for a free estimate and get your floors looking like new again. Whatever your floor needs, call 888-67-MY-FLOOR.
Does your company ever miss its sales goals or struggle getting new business?
Is it tough to hire or to give reps the right tools?
Hi, I'm Dan, and I started Engaged Prospect right here in Pittsburgh to help companies like yours.
And I'm Sam. We're helping companies hit sales goals and grow their businesses.
Think of us as your inside sales team.
Our clients are experts in their fields. We're experts in inside sales.
Give us a call today at 412-715-5151.
Or visit us online at engagedprospect.com/DK.
It's been 50 years since the Summer of Love, but if you're not performing as well as you'd like, check out NEDforless.com. I'm Eric Cushy of Curtis Pharmacy. Don't pay premium prices for the little blue pill. So Denafil, the same active ingredient as in Viagra, costs 80% less. NEDforless.com. All we need is your physician's name. We do the rest. Free shipping, too. NDDforless.com. Curtis Pharmacy, Western PA's Better Way Pharmacy. CurtisPharmacy.com.
Welcome back to In the Box. I'm Dejan Kovacevic, joined here at our Highmark Stadium studios by Chris Bradford. We're talking all Penguins, as we always do on In the Box. And in particular, this episode, we're investing in Mike Sullivan, since no one's going to be investing a Jack Adams Award in him.
Not this year.
That's going to Vegas. However, Sullivan has done a tremendous job, in my own view, both on and off the ice. And by that I mean with the way he's handled the team. I talked about schematics. And Chris, you mentioned the way he's handled the team's workload and practices and the way he's managed a two-time defending champion that's played way more games than anybody else over the past 3 seasons. But I'll tell you what, I am equally impressed with the way he continues to handle individuals in that locker room. And let's start with Phil Kessel, because you'll recall that it was supposed to be this big disaster that Rick Tocchet left to go to Phoenix. I wrote at the time that, man, was that just not going to be a big deal, because Sullivan was the one who was in charge all along. Tocchet, how shall I put this? Tocchet liked to talk a lot, and he would tell you anything, which if you're a reporter is obviously just awesome. And appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that the notion that Tocchet had this enormous influence as the policeman or the bad guy cop over Kessel was blown up in the biggest possible way by Phil himself, really, and then Sullivan.
Yeah, that narrative never really made much sense to me. Obviously Tocchet got a lot out of Phil Kessel, but Phil Kessel, I believe, had been a pretty established star, for almost a decade before.
Especially in
arrived
playoffs.
In Pittsburgh. Yeah,
especially in the biggest games, including the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, Kessel, number one pick, high first-round pick, what was it, top 2-3 pick?
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a guy who's, marched to his own drummer. I mean, he's a guy from Wisconsin, chose to go to Minnesota, gets drafted by Boston, soon wants to play in Toronto, and tries to take the bite out of the biggest market in hockey. And, he had some success there, but, probably drove him a little bit crazy at times.
Mike Sullivan was the one who flew to Toronto to find Kessel in the offseason, this past offseason after Nashville, to basically just to meet with him, just to talk, as Sullivan has described it to our site. He's not going back to his intentions to pound something into him or let him know I'm the boss. Now, he just went there to talk and to see his conditioning, as it turns out. He was working with Gary Roberts, turned out to be probably the single biggest storyline or impact on the Pittsburgh Penguins over the course of this regular season.
Can't argue with the results. I mean, Kessel, we've been debating that for a few weeks now. Who's the Penguins' most valuable player? I know I think I've kind of waffled a little bit, but I know you're still firmly in the Phil camp.
Yeah, I mean, Gino is hot on his tail, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you can't dismiss what Kessel has done and what he's meant for the Penguins this season. Certainly from day one to now, that Kessel has certainly been the Penguins' most valuable player.
Yeah, I can't dispute that. I also look around the locker room and see that Sullivan has found a way, even with the other star guys. I mean, I think we kind of take for granted, that he's able to deal with Crosby and Malkin at a level where he's constantly getting the best out of them, and there's just no drama, Chris?
Yeah, that can't be easy as a coach.
I don't know. I do know that he makes it look easy, and I do know that it's been a problem at times for other coaches. I mean, certainly his predecessor, Mike Johnson, had a very difficult time, especially with Crosby, and believe me, vice versa. But in this case, Sullivan just finds a way. When Sid was struggling early in the season, Sullivan would just say, he's a great player. There was never anything remotely resembling criticism or anything that would show any kind of disrespect. And that's knowing who Sid is. That's knowing what Sid needs. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I think the other example, now that we mentioned Kessel, the conversation in the summer would be Chris Letang.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation had to be had with him. I think Chris Letang thought, next surgery be damned, I'm going to be ready to go at the first drop of the puck in game one. And, Sullivan told him, hey, it's not going to be that way. It's going to be
slow down.
It's going to be months before that neck is where it needs to be.
And his confidence and his comfort level and the risk element and everything else.
And Letang is, obviously he's had some struggles at the beginning of the season, as Sullivan predicted he would, but he stood by his man. And
every which way.
Chris Letang is playing, back up to 25 minutes a night, and I think there was other coaches and other situations. Maybe Chris Letang may have been a healthy scratch.
Yeah,
at
that's
some point.
That maturity. I keep using that word, that he treats his players with respect, even when he criticizes them. I'm going to give you an example here that'll be a little bit away from the Stars. In Calgary earlier this year, Sullivan scratched Carl Hagelin, and Hagelin was a little bit banged up, but not that much. And Sullivan told us after that game up there at the Saddle Dome that he respects Carl Hagelin so much, and you could tell he meant that. And he doesn't. It's not a stretch to believe that Hagelin's been an integral part of 2 championships here. But the way he worded it was, we're just not getting the best version of him right now, and we need to have that. So on one hand, he's criticizing him, but he's not ripping him. And the part, I guess, that impresses me the most about that, Chris, is that he spent 10 years under a guy who does nothing but that and alienates his players. And, of course, I'm talking about John Tortorella now in Columbus.
Well, I mean, there's a friendship there. I mean, there's obviously a professional relationship there. But with John Tortorella, there's a friendship. And I think sometimes when you're friends, you can kind of overlook some of maybe the problems that John Tortorella has or is perceived to have. But, Tortorella's a guy, that players traditionally have liked to play for.
For a while.
He does have a shelf life. And honestly, when the Penguins brought in Mike Sullivan, when you hear he's a Tortorella protege, you think maybe there's a shelf life. And maybe there still is, but it's not anytime soon.
But
because
he didn't like that description from the day he arrived, and I've heard it from him on and off the record since then. Anytime he's heard or read something that would suggest maybe his benching of Ian Cole or whatever would be a Tortorella type thing, he really hates that, and there's a reason for that. He's his own man. He's very comfortable in his own skin. He respected Tortorella as his assistant, very loyal, which you want that from any assistant. But he's formed his own brand, his own personality, his own approach here in Pittsburgh, and man, does it work.
Yeah, he certainly has, done his own thing here. I mean, I talked to Jack Parker, the legendary BU coach, on a story about Mike Sullivan a while back, and in talking to him, I said, is there any similarities? Do you see any of yourself and Mike Sullivan? He's like, no, I mean, not really. We're 2 different people. He's, Mike's a lot more analytical in his approach of the way he sees the game, the way he wants the game played. He's his own man.
That's very impressive. It really is. To be around him on a daily basis, he never stops impressing. For Chris Bradford, I'm Dejan Kovacevic. You've been listening to In the Box here on DK Sports Radio.